guys, it's Ahmer here. So today, I decided to go out to a local video game store and try and find more Super Nintendo games that I need to go ahead and collect. So I'm trying to go for a full North American Super Nintendo set, and I added some more games. So last week we left off with 341, so let's go ahead and see what I picked up this week. So here I have my list of Super Nintendo games, and this is the full entire set of like 721 games, and on here I have 341 highlighted. So this week I decided to go ahead and cycle through this little list here and see what games I could add into the collection. So if you are enjoying this content and you really like following along on my Super Nintendo collecting journey, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out, as I'm constantly going around and hunting for more video games and just finding some neat things along the way. So this week we added a few more games, and a couple of them were actually pretty decent titles. So we'll just go ahead and jump into it. This one right here was a sports game. Now this is one that I also needed, but for a few dollars you can't beat it, and I figured I'd give it a go. So here we have this EA Sports, this FIFA International Soccer game for the Super Nintendo. Now this game really wasn't the best soccer game, but I did like the camera angle that they had, this whole entire like little view, and I also liked when you went ahead and you scored, they had like these neat little scoreboard animations. But other than that, I thought that the soundtrack was not the best. I thought it was pretty quick, and like these controls were really not the best either. So this is another Super Nintendo game that I will probably try and hold out to see if I can find a better soccer option. So if you have any recommendations, let me know in the comments below, because I'd love to know which one you guys are nostalgic for. And then up next we have this game. This is Wario's Woods. Now you may actually recognize this from being on the Nintendo Entertainment System and like being the last game for the Nintendo Entertainment System, but they also had it on the Super Nintendo, and it had a much better, like bright, colorful, aesthetic to it on the Super Nintendo. So this one was actually a pretty fun one, although it was a little bit challenging because it does something a little bit different. So instead of having like these blocks drop from the top and you have to like match them and move them around, so you actually control Toad, who is in the tree, and you must be able to like stack and move around all of these different little like block puzzler style things. So pretty much there are like these monsters in the trees, and you have to go ahead and clear those monsters out. And I just love how this version has like more color to it, and it even has this really cool like animation style like in between the different cutscenes. So I thought that this was pretty fun, and I thought that they did an interesting job, especially having Toad and even Wario in this game. So this one is just a relaxing game. It's one that you kind of have to get adjusted to, but once you do, you actually have a really fun time with it. So this one I was actually enjoying. Now next up, I really had high hopes for this game. We have Street Combat on the Super Nintendo. Now, this sadly was not the best game. I've played so many great fighting games over time, and this one I just felt like was an overall like bad game. It really wasn't that like, over the top or outstanding or anything like that, but you pretty much just have this game where I think that it was kind of introduced as like this anime style, but they didn't really base it on that because they westernized it. So I think that that kind of messed it up, where they didn't really have like that particular tie-in. They didn't have that advertisement for it. So this game, you pretty much just have like these simple controls like punching, kicking, jumping. And I just thought it was crazy because the enemies like throw things at you. So it was this whole entire like different style than what I imagined. And like some of the characters just really didn't have a lot going on. So I didn't really know what to expect with this game, but I was really hoping for something more. When you have games like Street Fighter and all of these like Streets of Rage and like all of this stuff, and then you have Street Combat, just a little bit disappointing, as you really hoped that you would get something like a little bit more spectacular. Maybe if you were nostalgic for this game, or if this is what you had instead of Street Fighter, then I don't really know, but this game I would not really recommend. And then on to this Super Nintendo game. We have the incredible Crash Dummies. So, these were everywhere in the 80s and 90s. Pretty much this whole entire, scene of this game is this whole entire, public service announcement where you had to wear your seatbelt. So, you had these, crazy crash test dummies, and they were everywhere. There were toys, there were, cartoons, there were just, little animations of these characters. Anytime that you saw, this terrible and horrific, vehicle crash, these crash test dummies would be the ones who would, go flying out of the car, especially if you weren't wearing your seatbelt. And this was overall, some sort of big thing that they were doing to try and get people to buckle up. And even in this game, it tells you to buckle up. And then right here on the Super Nintendo, it says buckle up for safety. So this was really, what they tried to do to go ahead and advertise that, make everyone be safe. But in this game, you have, this platforming game. You have a couple different characters. One's more, wheel-based. One actually has legs. They have, these weird little, jokes in here where it's I lost my head, and then of course the Crash Dummy's head is off, and need a hand, little things like that. But this was kind of more so a rescue mission where they just went around on this platforming style game, but I didn't really get too far in here just because this really wasn't what I was nostalgic for. But maybe if you guys had the toys, played with these, remember that stuff, maybe you guys might enjoy this one a little bit more. But for me, I could definitely tell what they were trying to do. And then once again, this place that I always go to is called Retro Replay. They actually have this in Bel Air, Maryland. So this store that I went to really has some great stuff there, and especially in the Super Nintendo section, they have some really expensive games that I need on my list. So I'm hoping in the upcoming weeks or even months, I can go ahead and knock a few more games off of my list, as they just have so much inventory. I love how they have a variety of different games, whether it be Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, Xbox, Atari. They have old, they have new, they have limited run games. They just have so much stuff, so every single time I go in there, I get distracted because not only do they have video games and consoles and weird promotional items and just wacky stuff, they have things that I've never even seen before. And then I love how they have an entire cabinet wall that they have of different figures and action figures, toys, just some really cool memorabilia from back in the day, even newer lines of figures. So I just love seeing all of that. Anytime that I go in this place, definitely have that nostalgia hit me. And I love how they also have records, comic books, they have CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, movies, VHS tapes. They have literally anything and everything. And as I was there, I actually got this gifted to me, so I'm pretty excited. So who else remembers Hey Arnold? See, here we have this really cool, this was from a Nickelodeon magazine, so this cool poster, where it says chill out. And of course, you have Hey Arnold, you have Gerald, so you just have all of these different characters on here. So I just love this. It says Nickelodeon Hey Arnold. This is from 2001. You have this cool little Nickelodeon magazine. Right here, subscription form with SpongeBob on here. And then on the back side, we have Rocket Power. So I just love this. You have Regina, you have Otto. You just have all of these awesome characters. And I absolutely loved both of these cartoons back in the day. I used to watch so many Nickelodeon cartoons throughout the 90s and even early 2000s. And this place just really has so much more. So I'm working on a few more things, and I can't wait to share that with you guys. So last week we left off with 341, and then adding these games right here, we have 4 more Super Nintendo games. So 345 is where we are leaving off, and I can't wait to share what I have coming up. So let me know in the comments below which games are your favorites. And of course, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go ahead and check out my other videos and stay tuned for more.